Hi everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today we are going to talk about skull bones. So let's start our topic with introduction of skull bones. Human skull is one of the most complex and vital structures of skeletal system. It serves as a strong protective case for the brain, support the sensory organs and provide the framework for the face. Skull is made up of several bones that are joined together by immovable joints called sutures. These bones are classified into two main groups, cranial bones and facial bones. Division of skull bones. First division of skull bone is cranial bones and second is facial bone. Now let's talk about these bones one by one. First we will talk about cranial bones. Cranial bones form the cranium, which enclose the brain structure and protect the brain. These bones also provide attachment points for muscles of head and neck. There are 8 cranial bones in total. First is frontal bone, second two parietal bone, third two temporal bone, fourth occipital bone, fifth sphenoid bone and sixth ethmoid bone. Now let's talk about these bones one by one. First is frontal bone. You can see the frontal bone in diagram. It is present in blue color. It is located in the front of skull as you can see in the diagram. It forms the forehead, the roof of eye sockets and the part of nasal cavity. It contains the frontal sinuses, which are air-filled cavities that help reduce the weight of skulls and resonate the voice. Second skull bone is parietal bone. It is paired bones, that means each skull has two parietal bones. You can see the green color bone behind the frontal bone is the parietal bone. There are two large bones that are located on the side and roof of the skull. They join each other at the top of head through the sagittal suture. Next skull bone is temporal bone. This is also the paired bone, that means there are two temporal bones in every skull. It is found on the lower side of skull near the ears. Each temporal bone contains the external auditory meatus, the mastoid process and styloid process. It houses the structure of inner ear that are essential for hearing and balance. Next skull bone is occipital bone. It is located at the back and base of skull. It contains the foramen magnum, that is a large opening through which passes the spinal cord. It articulates with the first cervical vertebra, that is atlas vertebra. Next skull bone is sphenoid bone. It is a butterfly-shaped bone that is situated at the base of skull. It forms part of eye socket and floor of cranium. It contains the sella turcica, that is a depression that houses the pituitary gland. Next skull bone is ethmoid bone. It is unpaired bone, that means every skull has one ethmoid bone. It is a light spongy bone located between the eyes. It contributes to the medial wall of eye socket, the nasal cavity and nasal septum. It contains the cribriform plate through which olfactory nerve passes to cranial cavity. Now let's talk about facial bones. Facial bones form the structure of face, protects the opening of digestive and respiratory systems, and provide attachment for facial muscles. There are 14 facial bones in total. First, there are two nasal bones, two maxillae, two zygomatic bones, two palatine bones, two lacrimal bones, two inferior nasal conchae, one vomer, and one mandible are the all bones of facial skeleton. Now let's talk about these bones one by one. So first facial bone or nasal bones, they are two in number as there are two in every skull. They are small rectangular bones that form the bridge of the nose. Second bone or maxilla, as you can see in diagram, the green color bone that is housing the upper teeth is maxilla. It is pair bone, that means there are two maxilla in every skull, one the right and one on the left. They are upper jaw bones which also form the part of orbits, nasal cavity and hard palate. They contain the maxillary sinuses that are the largest paranasal sinuses. Next, facial bone is zygomatic bone. As you can see in diagram, the orange color bone just adjacent to the maxilla is zygomatic bone. They are paired bone, that means there are two zygomatic bone in every skull. They are commonly known as cheekbone. They form part of orbits and give shape to the face. Next bone is palatine bone, that are also the paired bones. They form the posterior part of hard palate and part of nasal cavity. Next facial bone is lacrimal bone. As you can see in diagram, the purple color bone at the upper area side of the maxilla is the lacrimal bone. There are small bones that are located at the inner corner of each eye. They contain the lacrimal fossa which houses the tear ducts. Next bone is inferior nasal conchae. As you can see in diagram, in the nasal cavity, inferior nasal conchae is there, and it is a pair bone, that means there are two inferior nasal conchae in every skull. They are curved bones that are located inside the nasal cavity. They help in filtering, warming, and humidifying the air we breathe. Next facial bone is vomer. It is a thin flat bone that forms the lower part of nasal septum. And next is mandible. It is present in the gray color in diagram, that is holding the lower teeth is mandible. It is also called as lower jaw bone, and it is the only movable bone of the skull. It contains a socket for lower teeth and forms the chin. Functions of skull bones include: first function is protection, as the cranium protects the brain while facial bone protects sensory organs such as eyes, nose, and tongue. Second function of skull bone is support, as it provides a framework for the head and face. Third function is movement, as the mandible allows chewing and speaking. Fourth function is respiration and digestion, as the bones from the opening of the air and food cavity. Fifth function of skull bone is communication, as skull bone houses structure that are essential for speech, facial expression, and sound resonance. Conclusion of this lecture video. Skull is a complex structure made up of 22 bones, from which are 8 cranial bones and 14 facial bones. Each bone has a specific role in protecting the brain, supporting sensory organs, and shaping the human face. Together, these bones form a strong yet lightweight framework that is essential for life, communication, and identity. And this was all about skull bones. Hopefully you liked the video. If you do, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and comment. Thank you for watching.